Good morning, my name is Ryan Hall. I make music, and today we're gonna talk about my song.
That's not how it works. This love is so blind.
So first, I think we're gonna talk a little bit about the instrumental and then go from there. So in the intro, there's not really much going on except for just this hi-hat loop that I stole from Splice. Other than that, I just have this sample of me talking about, I don't remember, but it was cool. Moving on from there, we get to the intro.
I thought I found.
And I feel like the most definitive part about this is that the mix kind of just like widens out a little bit. Not just into the stereo field, but you get a lot higher frequencies here.
I thought I found.
In the beginning, we just had like mids in frequencies. And as soon as the vocals come in, as soon as the rest of the instrumentation comes in, we get a lot more of the guitars, the bass. So let's just go over the verse real quick.
I thought I found.
So not really much going on here. We have two guitars spread from the right and left. Hard panned right and left. And those were both recorded on my trusty Rode NTK right here. And we also have this bass, which is of course mono, because you always want your bass to be mono. Unless you're really adventurous. And together, that sounds like this. And in the background for the drums again, we have those hi-hat loops. And we have this kick. And it kind of has like a swing feel to it, you know? But it's not actually swing, as we'll see later in the chorus and other verses. Other than that, we also have this snare. Which of course, the drums by themselves kind of sound a little bit bland. And that's because I wanted the verse to be really, really tight. And not revealing too much until we get to the pre-chorus, which is this.
We slept in the sleep, devoted to the face inside my screen.
So everything just kind of became a lot more open. A lot more reverby. So number one, the hi-hat's cut out, literally just the kick and the snare. And then we have this synth in the background that I just introduced, which is just... And right now it's very in the background. And the whole idea of this part leading up to the chorus is right here is that we're slowly introducing new elements and making the whole mix kind of sound a lot more bright. And that was my goal. Moving on from the pre-chorus, let's get to the chorus.
So you see, that's not how it works.
Everything just kind of got really tight again, just like in the beginning, except this time the hi-hats are fully within the mix. If we listen to the difference between the chorus hi-hats and the verse hi-hats, you'll notice immediately. Versus this. You can feel the groove a lot more right here. I had the idea in my head for the chorus before I even started the song. It was literally just me going... And I just literally made that in Logic. And it sounds really sick. And the guitars right here are basically just... I'm just... Boom, boom. On top of the guitar, I also have this harmonic that comes in. And it cuts out. It just adds a nice little bit of spice.
That's not how it works.
The drums are cool here. We introduce this open hat. We introduce this side snare again. But this time, it's fully in the mix. So this is the chorus. And this is the verse.
Oh, that's not how it works.
And then everything kind of comes together in the second half of the chorus. Instead of just the single hits with the guitar and the bass, everything's kind of going along together like this. I gotta say, the bass I have for the chorus actually jams really hard. I'm proud of myself for recording this bass. I'm just gonna play it. If you're not wearing headphones, it's probably hard to hear. Oh, and one other interesting thing I added in the second half of the chorus is I have, instead of just doing the hard right and hard left pan with the guitars, I decided to add a mono guitar in the middle, but the guitar is distorted. And it just kind of adds that little extra texture. Better yet, in a hurry. then of course when we come into the verse right now,
That's not how it works. Yeah, so
like that. That's exactly how I wanted it to sound. Instead of the first verse where things were a lot more laid back, everything's kind of a lot more laid back in the mix. Right here we have the drums up front.
yeah, so put your phone.
And it's just kind of a continuation of the chorus, and it kind of doesn't let your energy go down a lot.
Put your phone down, baby. Promise you won't hate me.
Not much going on here. We still have the same groove going on, and the guitars and basses are just repeated from the first verse.
Baby, this love is so blurred.
I guess the only difference between the first chorus and the second chorus instrumentally is the fact that in the second half of this chorus we introduce a little bit of like real drums. We have like a real snare and like toms and everything. You'll notice right here.
That's not how it works. This love is so blurred.
But so yeah, I can just play that right here. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to the vocals of the song. I'll go ahead and play the vocals for the first verse by themselves, just a little bit of them.
I thought I found the way out of this mess, the reasons why I stress.
So as far as processing goes, I have a lot on my processing. So we have a noise gate that's taking out all the air. So there's nothing in between when I'm talking. And we have two EQs. One of them, which is just some basic additive and subtractive stuff. And then the second one is just some minor adjustments to the high end. And then I have 3 compressors in a row, each of them doing slightly different things. And my philosophy with compressors is that I don't want to have just one compressor doing a load of work. I feel like it's a lot better if you have like 3 or 4 different compressors that are just doing subtleties, and then they add up to a larger sound in the end. And of course, right after the compressor, I have a little bit of pitch correction. But other than that, I have a de-esser, an exciter, and iZotope vinyl. And that sounds really, really weird. Since I recorded That's Not How It Works, I've stopped using iZotope vinyl on my vocals. And I know that's weird, because why would you put a vinyl like emulator on your vocals? But it's just because I felt like without the vinyl, it made my vocals sound a little bit too crisp.
Thought I found.
So when I put the iZotope vinyl on it kind of just tones it down just a little bit to the point where it's not too exciting or too overbearing in the mix. Here's it with iZotope vinyl versus without.
Thought I found. Thought I found.
Moving on from that, the background vocals of the first verse are pretty interesting because I have some weird stuff going on. Oh, there we go. Didn't mean to do that.
The feelings.
So right here we have feelings, which is nice. And if you look at the automation, I basically just had to go walk and then cut off immediately the snare. And that's kind of a theme that you'll see a lot in the song. And of course we have the delay, which is pretty sick. And it just adds a bunch of layers. And combined with the whole thing. So another cool thing I did with the verse was I had this.
Tight.
Like, how did I even do that? But basically, it's all in automation. Everything that I do is pretty much just automated. Without automation, this is what it sounds like. But I took out the first part, so it's just immediately coming in, like, I don't know. And I like that.
Tight.
Something other than that, I guess, was this overdrive vocal right here. I don't actually have overdrive on it. I just have a pedal board with Double Dragon Deluxe Overdrive, which is cool as hell.
5-star thriller on repeat every night in your head.
Oh, and this one's cool. Yeah.
In that bed where we slept in the sleep.
So here's where things open up with the mix again, just like I was talking about earlier. I have these two things that are just... Oh. Okay, well I have these two things that are just doing this. I have a little bit of the pedal board thing on them again, but not too much that is overbearing. It's just a good kind of leeway into the pre-chorus. And so you'll notice right here, the vocals go into 2 separate channels. On these two channels, you notice there's no reverb at all.
5-star thriller on repeat every night in your head.
They're kind of raw. They're not raw. They're not literally raw. They just don't have any reverb. They're very up close and personal. And then right here, when things open up, you'll notice
endlessly.
Just a little bit of reverb, and of course the harmonies right over it. I should really turn off the inputs. And that kind of reminds me of like something you would hear out of like Ocean Eyes by Billie Eilish. Just kind of like the very wavy kind of vocals. And they ring out really, really nicely. And so I also have some reverb on like the important lines right here. When I go screen. And then
you miss one text and she'll probably just scream.
I have an octave right there instead, which was an interesting choice.
So you see, that's not how it works.
So I've gotten a ton of questions about how I did the chorus vocals and how I made them sound so big. And basically, I just recorded 3 different takes of me screaming, "That's not how it works." Because that's what, like, when I originally imagined the song, I was like, it's gotta be, "That's not how it works." And I just imagined, like, some very big vocals, and I just tried to emulate that the best way I could, which was just by doing this. And you'll notice I do the exact same thing I did earlier, where it all just cuts out as soon as the snare comes in. Here, I just did octaves. With a ton of pedal board, a ton of double dragon, and it sounds so good. It sounds so crispy. Verse 2 vocals are pretty self-explanatory. There's some cool stuff going on here. There's this tiny ad-lib that I recorded. I don't know why I didn't record any other ad-libs for this verse. It would have helped a lot, but I didn't. So there's really just this one that's just real life. Because I guess why not? I don't know.
With your time.
So for this part, I have these 2 overdrive vocals right here, which sound pretty cool, and then I have this octave layered on top. I literally called it Psycho background. Yep, that sounds like Psycho. And then I did a trick I usually do with a lot of my vocals, which is reverse reverb. And I'll tell you how I did that. All you do is you bounce out the original thing, bounce in place, you turn it into this thing, you double click it, you go into File, you click Functions, you reverse it, take a tiny piece of it, and then move it over here. So there's room for the reverb to grow when you bounce it back. Then right after that, you go into the effects and you just put a reverb on it. So yeah, that's what it sounds like before I reverse it again. But basically, I just put the decay up a lot, turn the dry down so it's just a wet signal. And then I take this, I bounce it in place, so it's just the audio file by itself. I can now delete this thing that I did already. And then I take this, go into File, Functions, and reverse that. And you just put it in time with the actual vocal. And this is what it sounds like right after. But of course, I did some automation where I basically just took the volume down as soon as it came in, so it's not too overbearing in the mix. It just kind of has that really cool lead-in effect to the vocal. There's some cool stuff going on right here. I do this in a lot of my songs where I just put a low octave, where I pitch shift my vocals down, duplicate it, and put it under the mix. And that's basically just like making it sound like I'm in an ocean or something. And it sounds really cool under the mix. Like if I were to take the EQ and bump it up all the way right here, this is what it would sound like. It would sound terrible.
Take a pic and call it love.
I mean, for some people that might sound cool, but for me, I just like to have it just the mids of it. Again, so it's not too overbearing on the vocals.
Take a pic and call it love.
And I usually do that when I want to emphasize a certain line.
Or is it cause he saw through every single lie that you tell, but you don't want to talk about it, and that's just swell. But you don't want to talk about it, and that's just swell.
Also, I have these screaming vocals in the background because without the screaming vocals, it just sounds bland. So.
Lie that you tell, but you don't want to talk about it, and that's just swell.
Like it sounds okay, but with the screaming vocals, it kind of just adds like the extra little bit to the rest of the
lie that you tell, but you don't want to talk about it, and that's just swell.
And I have the same harmonies from earlier. Nice. Very nice. And finally, for the last chorus, there's not much different than the first chorus, except I actually put all of the main vocals on a completely separate one, and I added some overdrive to it, so it sounds really cool.
It's not how it works.
So instead of the vocals like we had earlier in the first chorus,
That's not how it works.
we have more of a kind of like grungy kind of tone, especially since I added
That's not how it works.
very nice. So that's pretty much the song. Main key takeaways from this: small things add up to big things. My point being, very, very small additions to the mix create a larger sound, and then you layer those sounds, and it creates an even larger sound. By doing this repeatedly and through lots of practice, you can create your vision. Whatever you envision the song to be, you can create that by layering sounds over and over again. It doesn't matter what genre of music you're in. My philosophy on this has always been add smaller sounds to make bigger sounds. But yeah, if you guys like this video, let me know what you thought about it, and maybe I'll do another production breakdown. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please go stream That's Not How It Works. Please go stream it. Please go stream the song. I am begging you to stream the song. Thank you.